AI says running a sub-4-hour marathon is a math problem, but AI has never felt its lungs burn at kilometer 32. If you type how to run a sub-4-hour marathon in ChatGPT right now, an AI summary will hand you a neat, sterile little math problem. 42.2 kilometers divided by 240 minutes gives you 5 minutes and 41 seconds per kilometer. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not here to tell you that AI is useless or it's not got its place in marathon training or marathons themselves. I spend my days implementing learning management systems for a living, and they are packed full of AI wizardry and machine learning. And I know exactly how powerful that technology is for building a foundation. AI is a fantastic tool for drawing up a skeleton of a training block, giving you a baseline calorific target or spitting out standard splits. But a skeleton doesn't have a heart. AI cannot physically run a marathon. And AI doesn't know what it means to hurt in a marathon. And as you can probably tell from me just walking just a few steps, AI doesn't sweat like humans do. Algorithms, automated text snippets, and AI-generated training plans operate, I think, in almost like a total vacuum. And AI assumes that every kilometer is almost identical. I think it sort of thinks you are a machine, like a robot. But AI has never woken up with a sore or painful calf. And it doesn't know the quiet, suffocating panic of watching your Garmin tick over when your chest is burning or your vision is narrowing. And AI doesn't know what it feels like when your legs turn to lead at kilometer 32 in the freezing, sideways rain of London in April. And it doesn't know what it's like to stand on the start line in Chicago fighting a brutal headwind coming off Lake Michigan. And it cannot calculate the crushing weight of a Tokyo jet lag when you're standing in the corral after staring at a hotel ceiling at 3 a.m. on 3 hours of broken, anxious sleep. AI can give you the math, but it cannot give you the mental strength to manage the physical and psychological breakdown of the pain cave or the wall. I've crossed the sub-4 line in Chicago, in London, Tokyo, Paris, and Abu Dhabi. And every single one of those races taught me that rigidly following AI-generated advice is a trap. And today we're looking at why the tech falls apart when that gun goes off, and how your human ability to adapt is the only thing that will get you across that finish line. And let me prove it to you. If you ask an AI for a race day strategy, it gives you a list of absolute rules. AI advice number 1, hold a perfectly even 5:41 kilometer pace from start to finish. And here's the reality. When you stand at the start line, you're managing internal and external chaos. But because you're tapered and the adrenaline is masking the lack of sleep, 5:41 per kilometre almost feels like a joke. It feels like a recovery jog. And you cross that 5-kilometre mark and you look at your wrist and your ego says, we're running 5:35s and it feels effortless. Let's bank some time. But the thing is, there is no bank account in the marathon. There is only a shovel. And if you run under your goal pace in that first 10 kilometres, that isn't building a safety net. It's just you digging yourself a deeper hole. You're settling and setting your fuel tank on fire while your legs still feel fresh. AI advice number 2, consume 60 grams exactly of carbohydrates every 45 minutes. A perfectly logical spreadsheet equation. But AI doesn't know that at kilometre 15, the sports drink on the course might make you suddenly gag. It doesn't factor in that at kilometer 25, your hands might be too numb from the rain to physically actually open your wrapper. Or you might accidentally drop your caffeine gel in a puddle in London. A spreadsheet tells you to hit the metrics perfectly, but a human has to make a split-second micro decision. Do I risk taking that gel and throwing up, or do I hold off for 3 kilometers and risk hitting the wall? And the thing is, as a human, you have to adapt on the fly without panicking. AI cannot predict those surprises. But it's not just the spreadsheets, it's the tech we wear on our wrists every day. And I think that can lead us astray somewhat. And you might be thinking about, what about the smart apps, those adaptive AI tools that can, get your data and then start to adapt your training plan based on the data it knows about you. The ones that track your heart rate variability and your sleep, your stress levels and your training load. AI advice number 3, your stress is high and your recovery is poor. Abort the hard workout. And the tech is incredible at reading your biology. But an algorithm is binary. It has 0 context for your psychological capacity. If you're deep in a marathon training block, like I am right now, you are going to be tired. You are going to have weeks where the friction of daily life feels heavy on your shoulders and weighs you down. And if I've listened to my watch every time it flashed or beeped unproductive at me after a brutal week at the office, I would have skipped half of my long runs. AI doesn't know the difference between you are physically injured and you are just exhausted from life, but you still need to get those miles in to build mental toughness. It doesn't know the subtle difference. Human grit looks at a bad sleep score, laces up the shoes anyway, and says, this is where the strength gets built. And on race morning, on marathon day itself, when your adrenaline is spiking and your nerves are on fire, your AI app is going to look at your vitals and tell you that your stress is through the roof and you're not ready to perform. And if you let that piece of code dictate your confidence, you've lost the race before it even starts. Since we can't rely on a rigid algorithm to manage our biology, we need a plan that accounts for the human factor. So if a rigid, even pacing is a trap and letting an app dictate your willpower is a mistake, what is the actual blueprint for breaking 4 hours? I call it running with discipline instead of emotion. You break the 42.2 kilometers into 3 highly adaptable, deeply human phases. Phase 1, shutting the ego down. Kilometers 1 to 10-ish. You deliberately run those first 10 kilometers slower than your target average. Aim for 5:50, 6-minute pace. This is how you adapt to the adrenaline. It will feel absurdly slow. Your brain will scream at you that you're failing. Let it scream. Swallow your pride. You're protecting your glycogen, your body's fuel tank, for what's to come ahead. Phase 2, the flow state, kilometers 11 to 30 or thereabouts. This is where you settle smoothly into your true target average of 5:41 per kilometer. Your legs are still relatively fresh. Your fuel tank is relatively full. And you feel light, gliding quietly past all those runners who treated the marathon like a sprint and have burned themselves out in the first 30 minutes. Phase 3, the effort match, kilometers 31 to the finish line, the final stretch. Here is a secret spreadsheets don't tell you for those last 10 kilometers. Fatigue is human, but because you preserved your energy early, your slowdown is a minor drop to a 5:50 pace, rather than the catastrophic walk of shame at 7:30 pace. You finished strong because you managed your energy like a professional. You might be wondering, as I'm coming to the end of my walk, If an AI can spit out a perfect pace chart in 3 seconds, why did I ask you to come for a walk with me for a 10-minute sweaty video? Here is the human answer. Because data doesn't finish marathons. Experience does. Emotions do. Passion, grit, determination does. And your heart does. When you're standing at kilometer 35 and you're completely hollowed out and questioning all of your life choices, which you will do, nobody ever whispers a spreadsheet formula to themselves to keep their feet moving forward. You don't need a math equation to survive the pain cave or the wall. You need belief, grit, shared experience, and the psychological armor that only comes from another human being who has actually been out there on the course. You need to know that the restraint you practiced on a dark, lonely morning was training you for this exact second. So whether you're adapting to the brutal heat by grinding out 20 mind-numbing laps of an indoor running track like I'm doing currently here in Abu Dhabi, or you may be dialing in on the mindset right now for an autumn or winter marathon, don't forget, every time you listen to your body and hold back when you want to sprint, you're building the mental armor you need. And I don't think AI can teach you that. The sub 4 marathon isn't a prize for the runner with the most perfectly executed spreadsheet. It is a mirror for the runner who's had the discipline to listen to their body, adapt to the chaos, and get out of their own way. Your watch can tell you the pace, but only your human grit can get you to the finish line. So next time that starting gun goes off in your marathon, are you going to be a slave to the algorithm? Or are you going to go and run a deeply human race? Let me know down below in the comments. I'm really interested on your thoughts and AI in marathon training, marathons. Do you use AI apps? Or maybe you're completely against it and you like the human touch. This is Run the Sun. My name is Paul, and I'll see you in the next one.